Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about what is next for your NBA champion, LA Lakers. I'm going to be honest, I had my doubts about this team coming into the season. I didn't know if they had the depth. I knew that they had LeBron and AD. I didn't know if they had enough outside of that. But full congratulations to the Lakers for a great postseason run and a well-deserved title. But now, of course, we got to talk about what is next for this team, because as LeBron gets older, Anthony Davis is a free agent. There are some question marks for this roster moving forward, not only in terms of is it going to be able to maintain the level that they are at right now as a championship team as LeBron ages, but also how are they going to improve this roster as other teams in the Western and Eastern conferences try to catch up to this group as they chase now a 2021 title. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload basically every single day, and leaving a like rating also helps me out. It helps the video out on YouTube, and it lets me know that you guys are enjoying the content as well. And as always, if you want to come hang out with me on Twitch, I'm probably live right now, twitch.tv/spolo_TD. We can talk about trades, off-season stuff, just hang out while I'm playing some Warzone or whatever game I feel like playing on that day. It's super fun. You should come hang out. Okay, so for the Lakers, this off-season really revolves around three things. One, the Anthony Davis free agency. Two, how they're going to continue to improve the roster as you would imagine LeBron James decreases in his production or his effectiveness at least a little bit, you would imagine at some point, and keeping in mind that he can be a free agent next offseason or the following, depending on what he does with his player option, and he has a history of teams leaving if they don't improve their roster. And three, how can they have some kind of internal improvement on a roster that has a ton of veterans and not a ton of young guys you think are really going to be improving moving forward. So first, let's talk about the Anthony Davis thing. And I really don't know like if Anthony Davis is going to re-sign this offseason. It's a situation that is certainly fluid. We've been seeing plenty of rumors around the possibility that he's going to go to Brooklyn. Of course, Anthony Davis is staying. There's nothing else he could want. He's got LeBron. He's in LA finally. He's got his title. Anthony Davis is absolutely re-signing, and there's no question about it in my mind. And I think he is a lifetime Laker. I really don't think there's any possibility that he gets traded, that he leaves in free agency, unless he's like 35 and goes and signs a one-year deal somewhere else. Anthony Davis is a lifetime Laker. The guy's staying, okay? Now we get to move on to some of the more interesting stuff. And as we look now at the payroll for this Lakers roster, you'll see that a lot of the important players on this roster are going to be re-signing for next season, including obviously Anthony Davis, or these are players that have already been under contract. And really, there's a couple of question marks with some player options and things like that, but once they re-sign Davis, there's not going to be any salary cap space to improve outside of the mid-level exception or veteran minimum deals. And they do have their draft pick this year. It's obviously late in the first round, but they don't have a second round pick. And moving forward after this, draft picks are going to be hard to come by, at least in terms of their own, for the LA Lakers. So the situation that they're in this offseason, in which they are capped out, have a late first round pick, and in other cases not have a first round pick at all, and a relative lack of young assets on the roster, and a lack of an ability to really improve the roster outside of veteran minimum guys and mid-level exception players, that's a situation they're going to find themselves in a lot over the next couple of seasons. However, on the bright side for them, assuming that KCP and Rondo both opt into their player options, we'll talk about those two guys in a second, really not much from their rotation this year is going to be leaving as a free agent, with the exception of guys like Markieff Morris and Dwight Howard, who they can easily re-sign if they want to, or let walk if they want to as well. Not super critical pieces to the roster. Now, the KCP and the Rondo thing, it's kind of tough to figure out if those guys are going to opt out, because Rondo has a player option for like 2 something, and you think, oh, he played really well, of course he's going to opt out, get a bigger deal. But with his age, with the salary cap stuff, I mean, maybe he opts out and gets like another 1-and-1 deal for like $8 million total, 4-and-4. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to figure out, because he wasn't a great regular season player, but obviously was really impactful in the postseason. But I would imagine at this point that he would really want to stay in LA. And then KCP proved himself to be a pretty good 3-and-D player for this group. But again, is he going to get more than 80 a year on the open market? Unlikely. And both of those players have the opportunity to opt in for this year and then go into free agency in 2021, when we know that there is going to be a ton of salary cap space available. And I would imagine that would be the option that they would take, which allows the Lakers to take in the next season. Again, assuming that Anthony Davis resigns and Rajon Rondo and KCP opt into their player options, to go into next season with basically the same roster, minus Dwight Howard and Markieff Morris, with some opportunities to improve the roster. Those opportunities include, as I continue to say, veteran minimum guys that want to chase a championship in LA, and then the mid-level exception potentially for one or multiple players, depending on how they want to spread that out throughout the roster. Other options include, of course, using that first round pick that is going to be very, very late to select a player that they think is going to actually be able to help this roster, or potentially look at a trade involving maybe that pick and Kyle Kuzma. Now, my thing with Kyle Kuzma is, yes, he had some good moments in the postseason, but I think that his value to the Lakers is significantly higher than it is to any other team, unless there's a team out there that I'm completely unaware of that is absolutely in love with what Kyle Kuzma does on the basketball court. I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's anything special, and I don't think that he is even remotely close to any kind of significant trade asset for a player that is going to move the needle on this Lakers roster. So really what that means is I think Kyle Kuzma, as one of the very few opportunities on this roster for internal improvement in terms of a younger player that can continue to grow and develop, I think he holds more value in LA to just keep him rather than looking to make some kind of weird trade, unless someone becomes available and a team really likes Kyle Kuzma that is completely unaware to me at the moment. So we've got, like, I believe the 28th, 29th, or 30th pick in the draft, and then Kyle Kuzma, and then that's about it. And how this team is going to either improve or simply tread water moving forward, as again, I'm assuming LeBron at some point is going to decline in both his efficiency and his production. I don't really know how they're going to stave that off. And at some point there's going to be a moment where we look at this roster and think maybe they're a bit too old. Maybe LeBron finally is starting to go downhill. They don't have a ton of other contributors outside of him and Anthony Davis, and they don't really have guys that are improving moving forward either. And how do they fix that? And I really don't think that there is a solution to that. And what you can hope for is that LeBron continues to figure out ways, despite his age, to be one of the best players in the league, and Anthony Davis continues to develop into a more and more dominant player. He's clearly in his prime now, but you would expect that he takes up even more of the slack as LeBron ages, and I think that they'll be able to figure out that dynamic pretty well if we know anything about the way LeBron's career has gone to this point. And then maybe you're counting on some Caruso improvement, some Kuzma improvement, and this team continuing to be good over the next couple of years. I certainly have no doubt that as long as LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, this is going to be a championship competing team for at least the next 2 seasons. And then after that, we don't really know what LeBron is going to do. But at this point, it seems like this roster that the Lakers won the title with this year, that's the roster they're going to be moving forward with for a while now, with the exception of once we get to the 2021 offseason, in which LeBron opts in or signs a new deal and Anthony Davis will sign a new extension by that point, because those will be the only 2 players on the roster outside of a Kuzma extension. And then the Lakers have an opportunity, if they find a guy that they really want to bring in 2021 free agency, to bring someone in, because they will certainly have max contract space with only presumably LeBron and Anthony Davis on the roster, plus whoever they pick with their first round pick this year. So in terms of improvement for this offseason, not a lot of options there. But then as we get into 2021, there is going to be cap space available. But assuming that they use all that up, this situation that they're going to be in right now is something that they're going to be in for the next couple of years with limited cap space. Again, assuming they spend it all in 2021, which seems pretty likely, and not a ton of draft assets, nor tradable assets. So at least for next season, this roster is going to be very, very similar, barring some kind of trade that is completely unforeseen to me at the moment. And then you look at 2021 as a potential, hey, Giannis, do you want to come be a Laker type deal? Or if for some reason, if Kawhi or PG are like, you know what, I don't want to be the Clippers anymore, I want to be with the Lakers, or Victor Oladipo, or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily think that it's going to be some kind of big time star really that they're going to bring in because of the dynamic of AD and LeBron. And I just don't see a star really going, hey, I really want to go play with those 2 guys that dominate the ball as much and go, be clearly the third guy. I don't think it's as enticing to people anymore after what happened in Cleveland to be the third guy to LeBron and whoever second guy which is clearly AD, and AD might be the first guy at some point here over the next couple of years as well. So more than likely, they'll use that offseason to kind of build their rotation up around Anthony Davis and LeBron, similar to how they've done the past 2 off seasons since LeBron has been there, and then go forward from there. But in terms of trades, the options are incredibly limited. So if you're looking at a potential rebuilding of a super team, that would possibly happen in 2021 with the Lakers actually have cap space. But for next season, it's gonna be pretty much the same group. But again, congratulations to them for being the 2020 NBA bubble champions. And yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.